last Duchess. Your first reading of this poem and your first reading of the students' preparation for examination of that poem, particularly the characters and the speaker or narrator, it is the place where we can say narrator. Normally in poetry we say speaker. In poetry we say speaker. However, when it comes to the monologue, and when that monologue is a dramatic monologue, then we are really having a difficult thing to take care of, okay, and to give it our full attention here. And this is a Browning. This is the poet Browning's major, what we or most significant poetic innovation, if we're talking about the Victorian era or the Victorian age. Okay. In other words, what we have here, okay, in particular, we are talking about, prescriptions, okay, for formal, I don't know what you call it, signification. And instead, it is defined here. I'm talking about the dramatic monologue by its what? Presentation of a speech act. There's always that thing that's called the speech act. Speech act is or has a lot to do with the dramatic monologue. So I'll take you to one of the leading authors or leading critics, Abraham. In Abraham's glossary, this is what it states about the dramatic monologue. It's a single person who is patently not devout. So pay attention. We're talking here about someone who speaks, okay, who utters a lot of things in a monologue, as if he is speaking to himself. Okay, so according to Abraham or Abraham's glossary, it states a single person who is patently not the poet. We're not saying that the poet is saying this. No, what we have here is a speaker. Okay, a speaker or narrator, it's up to you, utters. Okay, someone who utters speech that makes up the whole of the poem. Now, is it clear now? Is it clear to me? Is it clear to you, folks? Is it clear? Okay, patently or patently, not the poet, but somebody else who utters a speech that makes up the whole of the poem. So the point of this speech act, again, back to the speech act, and is poetic form, or it is in poetic form, is, as Abraham continues in his definition, to reveal, it tells us. Okay, the job of this monologue is, is to reveal to the reader in a way, okay, that enhances its interest. Whose interest? The reader. Okay, the speaker's temperament and character. In other words, it reveals the speeches of the speaker's temperament and again the character itself. And that this is 2005, page 70. All right. It tells us while the poetry pretends to be of the poet's self. Listen to this. The unconscious expression. This is the lyric poetry, okay? Different from the dramatic monologue. Lyric poetry is the unconscious expression of the poet's self, overheard by the reader. Now let's go back to the dramatic monologue, folks, again. The dramatic monologue has a rhetorical, element in it, and it is eloquent and meant to be heard. That is another critic, Tucker, 1992, at page 21. It is, in most cases, folks, addressed to one or several listeners. In other words, the dramatic monologue requires, pay attention to this, requires that there is a listener, that there is an addressee, which could be one person, could be more than one person. So it could be one listener, or it could be several listeners. But what's important here, we know of authors' presence and what they say and do only from, listen to this, clues in the discourse of the single speaker or single narrator. That's all we know about the. That's why we call it what we have here in the dramatic monologue. Three elements. One, what we have is a speaker. Two, spoken to or addressee, or listener, so it's up to you. And a third, occasion. Pay attention to this. Then we have three mingling among themselves. Okay, so here, all we know about what is going on in that speech or the speech act is simply clues that appear in the discourse of the single speaker. Okay, but what they provide the dramatic, and often critical situation of the monologue, right? Here, what we have, or what we think of the dramatic monologue, not as a soliloquy, but it comes to it without the play. In addition to this. It's not a soliloquy, but it is closer to it, but we do not have, we say, without the play. Soliloquies were used extensively, when were in the Elizabethan and Jacobean drama, both of them. Shakespeare's tragedies contain major soliloquies by the tragic heroes. And Shakespeare formally, or it's up to you, we can say famously used prolonged asides. This is important. We said soliloquies. What about the asides? Asides reveal some aspects, some element from the speaker's character, particularly the villains in the Shakespearean dramas. So the villains capture the attention of the audience through the asides, and produce the suspense, by disclosing their evil, intentions. Iago, don't forget that, And in Hamlet, we have seen also many of that, especially Ophelia's father. So in Robert Browning's dramatic monologue, what we have here, is talking about something important here. It is what we call the monologue that give us the fascination from such a focus sinister aspects of the speaker. So don't forget, the Duke is the speaker. Robert Browning reveals a Duke's contempt for his last Duchess. Why is that? Through his what? Through his poem, in My Last Duchess, there is a tone of jealousy. Don't forget that, folks. A tone of jealousy, okay, arrogance, and sinister, okay, attitude in the poem revealed to us through very sort of realistic details of Fra Pandolf's masterpiece. However, look at this. The speaker suggests that his masterpiece, okay? I'm talking about the masterpiece that is hanging on a wall. His masterpiece, however, the speaker suggests that his last Duchess was not faithful. Too bad. Why was she not faithful? As apparently the Duchess was easily pleased. My goodness. She smiled at everyone and accepts gifts from everybody. Now this is something that I need to stop here and talk with you about it. What does it mean that this lady is unfaithful because she is courteous to the people who offer her their services? Courteous to them, smiling to them, accepting their gifts, okay, those simple gifts. Yet, okay, she is courteous enough to accept those gifts from her, from those who serve her. Okay, so he tells her that she is easily pleased. What do you mean by easily pleased? Yes, people are serving you. That, if you recall, we talked about, if you recall, the class division in the Victorian era and how sharp it is that you have to stay within your class and act accordingly, okay, or else that you will be dismissed or neglected, or just ignored by your class. Okay, so here it is. The poem tells us that it starts off. Look, the poem starts off with the Duke telling someone about his last wife's portrait. That's where we start the poem. Okay, the poet tells us about the picture, just a picture. We're talking about a picture, okay? And I like to somehow, if you stay with me, and I'm going to read the third paragraph of the poem, of the third line of the poem. That piece of wonder. What piece are we talking about? That is the portrait of the Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. This is too much revealing. We have a picture, okay? We have a picture painted, and it is hanging on the wall. Picture of a Duchess. And that Duchess is the last Duchess. When we say last Duchess, we understand that that Duchess is no more. Only her picture's there. All right? So the piece is a wonder, according to him. That piece a wonder. Now, it is a wonder. Why is it a wonder? Why is it a wonder? Because Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. And it tells us how much by Pandol or Fra Pandol, okay, and how much time that the Duchess sat there waiting to be depicted, and particularly we're talking about the countenance, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So at this moment, what we have, okay, the poem starts off again, I repeat, with the Duke telling someone, and we know who this one is, right? Okay. Later on, we know that he is the Count's emissary. Okay, he is someone who is coming to negotiate a new wedding, a new marriage deal with the Duke. Okay, so the poem starts off with the Duke telling someone about his late wife's portrait. Late wife's portrait. There is an air of mystery about what he is about to reveal. Okay, we don't know. This is what he is saying. Fra Pandolf worked hard to capture amazing details of the Duchess' face. And look. Okay? Face and look. Laban hardly in order to get that face of that countenance, okay, that face, that features on that face, okay. And the Duke strongly suggests the listener to take the time and admire the details, okay, of the detailing, okay, of the painting, and particularly line 5 to line 13. This is important in the poem. If you take line 5, which begins, okay, wilt please you sit and look at her. It begins here. Wilt please you sit and look at her. Look at the painting, in other words. This is the line, okay? And it goes on to line 13. That is a complete revelation. It reveals an emotional conflict within the Duke. I repeat, emotional conflict within the Duke. That's on one hand. And on the other hand, it is a valuable treasure. A fine work of art. How could we somehow combine these two attitudes? One, at one time, or at one hand, this is what we call the painting is or reveals that conflict within the Duke. Conflict of what? About or towards his wife. But at the same time, it brings us into the memories and history, okay, they had together. The Duke allows the painting to be viewed by a select few. By the way, this is a frozen time and a frozen moment. Okay? In time. The painting, not everybody can see it. It is up to the Duke to whom he will show that painting on the wall. Okay? The Duke allows the painting to be viewed by a select few. So again, only those he believes that he may, okay, or he wants to have dealings with, and particularly we're talking about the very high class or upper class here. It explains the Duchess' Look at this. What is meant by it expresses the Duchess' countenance? Okay, it is the look upon her face that Randolph depicted, seized. Okay, right? So here it is. The countenance. It is arrogant. Arrogant what? In what he wants to tell the viewer. The arrogancy or the arrogance shown here on the speaker from the discourse given to us piece by piece, that he wants to show the addressee, the viewer, or the viewers, and assumes that the viewer wants to know the information. Okay? It's up to the Duke himself whether to reveal that part of the information, okay, of the history of the relationship itself and the Duchess. So no, it appears to me, and this is we get it from the Duke himself, that no one dares to ask, what does this look, imply to you? Okay. Well, in other words, the look is a sexy look. When I do, he doesn't like to be given to anybody. He should be the only one to cause that spark of joy. The jouissance, joie de vivre. Okay, that is the art of living, the joy of living, and he wanted only to him, dictated by him, given by him to anybody else with his approval. Without his approval, no, it is not accepted at all. Okay, so this is the spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek, and you remember that the spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek. The Duke has a jealous streak, okay? He doesn't want everybody else other than him to impress the Duchess, okay? But the Duchess, by nature, too easily impressed. And that is from line 23, which suggests that the Duchess, like most women, they would have blushed at a compliment, and with a little flirtation. The Duke believes that Randolph made the Duchess blush intentionally, being cheeky with his compliments. Okay? Whose compliments? Compliments of the painter. Okay? We don't know if that is what he revealed in the countenance, okay, of the Duchess. This is between the painter and the subject painted, or the model, if you like, if she sat like a model to him. Okay? It's just a little flirtation. No, she doesn't. She of respect, but of courtesy. Okay, that the Duke believes that Randolph made the Duchess blush intentionally. Why? To draw that particular, single moment of the countenance on the face of the Duchess. Okay, and here the painter could have done it to achieve a more realistic effect to his painting. Is that real? True? We don't know. It's entirely in the hands of the the Duke, because he's the one telling us exactly what's going on. Okay? In lines 25 to 31, the Duke makes shocking revelation of the Duchess. Why? Pay attention to lines 25 to 31. The Duke makes shocking revelations about the Duchess. He states that his wife was easily taken in by simple compliments. Simple compliments, why not? She's the lady of the best, and people are serving her, are offering their services. But of course, he will be nice to them. Okay, or also he needs to compare the given to her, okay, and his gift. This the compliments and gifts, whether simple or extravagant, these gifts are nothing in comparison to his own gift. Also in lines 43, we said to 45, he states even her smile was the same for everyone. Let's understand that when she sees the Duke, the Duchess, when she sees the Duke, she smiles. But who she does not smile when she sees or passes by? Out of courtesy, as I said. Okay? Who passed without much the same smile? He does that. He hints to the reader that his wife may have crossed the line by being unfaithful to him. I find it really, really terrible. You know, you talk about your wife in that particular manner, and nothing really proves, nothing shows us that this lady was unfaithful to her husband at all. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. The Duke is also putting the blame, part of the blame, not only all the blame, but part of the blame, he puts it on the many admirers. You have a palace, man. You have a palace. Lots of people serve in that palace. Okay? Absolutely. You come across the lady of the palace and you attract her. All right? So on the admirers who tried to seek her out. Seek what? The Duchess. They look for her approval. They look for her, pleasing. Okay, so here we go. Who tried to seek her out? So many admirers. The Duchess liked the attentions. She got all and each would draw from her alike the approval speech or a blush. See? Okay? So everyone she meets with, okay? She meets with them courteously, with respect, and with a smile. He does not accept that. That is not, something that he would exactly live with. All right? The approval speech or blush. Okay? Also demands that his wife worship him, and he was not just anybody. See? That is the big difference between the husband and the other people working or servicing in the palace. So his wife should worship him, and he was not just anybody. He was in fact from an aristocratic family with power and prestige. That is, the smile that she meets her husband with, she smile that she makes her admirers. No, at all. In fact, his attitude toward her that he expects her to worship him, and to worship his decency, and to worship his line of family, aristocratic line of his line with power and prestige. It cannot be just like those people servicing or offering their services in the palace. Okay? She should have treasured. Look at that. She should have treasured and carried out with a pride. Treasured what? Treasured his name, treasured his power, treasured his prestige. Okay? She should have felt the pride to go with it. The Duke didn't. Okay? I think it was not necessary to emphasize the importance of his name and lineage to her. Look at this. Look at this. This is important. Look at this. The Duke thought it was not important. It is clear. It is there. It is 900 years of name history behind him. He should not stoop. Huh? He should not stoop. You know what I mean by stoop? He should not get to her level to explain to her what it means to be of this family and of this prestige, of this power. No. Okay? Even explaining his lineage and linkage to the family and family history, that is stupid. And he is not a man known to stoop. Okay? He is not a man who is known to stoop. Okay? 935, and just that the Duke is superior to everyone. See? These lines, 35 and 43, superiority. So arrogant the Duke is. So here, even to his Duchess, even to his wife, okay? Even then, would be some stupid. Okay? That is to tell her that he is superior to her, means he stoops, and he chose never to stoop. Speaking to the Duchess about her behavior, okay, would be stooping to her level. And he believes that his wife may not have appreciated being spoken to about his lineage, about his history, about his, no, or try behavior. Okay? That is stupid, and he does not want to do that. Okay? This is the first and only time in the poem that we, of course, find a contradiction of what he really is. Perhaps this is just a noble excuse of not having spoken to his wife. This is unbelievable, arrogant, narrative. Okay? So towards the end of the poem, look at here. Look at it here. We are at the end of the poem. The smiles. What is going to happen to these smiles? We will see. At the end of the poem, we're still left wondering. Wondering what? Astonished. Not thinking what is going to happen to this wife. What would happen to the Duchess? And here it tells us. Then all these all these smiles stopped altogether. No more. So the Duchess ordered to be killed, my friends. To be killed. This is unbelievable. The smiles stopped together makes us wonder if what happened? If she was banished or killed. This is the one. But we do not know that she is not part of his life. We know that. No. We know that. We know that she is not part of his life anymore. This is something that that's the reason why we have an emissary, okay? And somebody sent by account, and we will talk about that right now. And in fact, what he is towards the end of this poem, he wants to show his listener what man he is, okay, and what deal he is getting into. We're talking about the new deal. Okay, smiles are stopped. The wife is no longer part of his life. Okay, well, that's what we know. And she is no more. She's only a painting hanging on the wall, and it is the last Duchess. And we say last Duchess means that he has no Duchess with him anymore. We finally learn that the person he was speaking to is a count's emissary. You understand what it means, count's emissary? That is an agent sent by the count. When we say count's emissary, an agent sent by the count to sort of, get a deal with the Duke for the marriage of the count's daughter. So we got a marriage deal here. We got a marriage deal going on. And look what we are going to hear. Okay? The person spoken to is the count's emissary, as I said, and the count wants the Duke to marry his daughter. That is the count's daughter. And look what is going on. A negotiation. And negotiations going on. And negotiations up to education. Okay? A negotiation is going on between the Duke and the emissary, count's emissary. Okay? What is most important here, the place, and what is more important than the count's. Count's what? Generous dowry is his daughter's ability to abide by his commandments. It's unbelievable. Do you believe it? We're not talking just about the dowry. The dowry is going to be really a good chunk of money coming from the count to supply his daughter with good money, okay? But it is the daughter's ability. We understand that he is able to abide by the Duke's commandments, unlike his last Duchess. Okay? He ends the negotiation by highlighting us of Neptune. Listen to this. Okay? Neptune taming what? Seahorse. Neptune, this is a sculpture. Highlighting this sculpture, and in this sculpture we see Neptune taming a seahorse. This appeals greatly, okay, to the listener, to the reader, okay. And here, what we see here, especially, this is a rare rare seahorse. He tamed his rare beauty of a first wife. This is the comparison established between showing this sculpture and what he wanted to pass over to the emissary and to the reader. A rare beauty of a first wife who is forever trapped behind that curtain. Forever trapped behind that curtain, okay? In an engaging pose. Engaging pose. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. Why it's called engaging pose? That's why I said a sexy pose, okay? Because the last Duchess is full of lively, whatever, take it the way you want. But as I said, this is the beautiful poem, and the most important part of that poem is the the monologue, okay? The dramatic. You tell me what we have here. We have Zahra Ahmed Razak Ahmed. Yes, please, Zahra. You tell me, what did you get from this poem? What did you get from the poem? Zahra Ahmed Razak Ahmed. Yes, 0. Fayha Jasim Abdul Hussein. Don't take the 0. Come on. Yes? What did you get?
Yes, Doctor.
That's another 0. Yes, Fayha. What did you get from reading this poem? And the explanation that I provided you of the dramatic and especially the PPX or PPT or PP whatever you got PowerPoint that I sent you and published. That was prepared by a student, and we said it's a very interesting note. It is full of mistakes, grammatical mistakes, but we reach a certain understanding. So what is that understanding to you, Fayha? What did you get from that?
Dr. Malas, Duchess is open up with the speaker, asking a listen if he would please sit down and look at portal of his last Duchess. This makes that reader wonder why this Duchess is no longer his personate. He does not.
Thank you very much. Fayha, listen to me. زهراء داوود غفير كريم احتاجها. زهراء داوود غفير كريم احتاجها. هكذا. ارجع لك زهراء. فيحاء العفو. فيحاء. We have elements.
Okay.
Elements, very important elements. You recall, we said these elements, and particularly in any dramatic monologue, some connection between the characters, okay, and the occasion. That's how we call it the dramatic. Without the connection, it's not dramatic anymore. You see? So we have here the occasion. What is the occasion now? Do you understand? Zahra Dawood Rafid Karim. What is the occasion here? Tell me the occasion. We talked about the characters. We have the Duke. We have the addressee, and the addressee is the what you call it, agent sent by the count. These are characters, of course, and through them, that's why we call it. It's a speech act. I want you to emphasize the word a couple of words, speech act. We have a speech act. You need to understand what it meant, what is meant by speech act. Okay? And in the speech act, this is what we have. We have the sort of connection, interaction, okay, between the occasion and the characters. And of course, sometimes in these connections, what we see is the dark side of the villain. Who's the villain? Who is the villain here? جاسم عبد الحسين عبد الله. Who is the villain? In Macbeth, the villain is the wife. The villain is the wife. Macbeth is wife. Macbeth's wife. And in Othello, Shakespearean, the villain. So, my dear friends, who is the villain here? It is the Duke, the villain. And the dark side of the villain. That's what I want you to understand. That through the connection between the occasion, okay, and the characters. And in fact, a lot of the features that, if I ask you to describe the character of the Duchess, very, nothing proves against the contrary. Yet, he gives us, he had an unfaithful life, and that is why he stopped those smiles and he stopped her life, and in fact he kept her as if she were alive, as if, okay, that is the impossible thing. Rusul Salman Muhammad Matlub. Yes, please. Rusul Zahra Latif, you didn't tell us anything. Yes? What is happening, folks? Can you tell me what's happening? Huh? Zahra Karim Abdullah. Do we have Zahra Karim? Abd Ali. Zahra Karim Abdullah. Zeros, folks. All zeros. Okay? Did you have time to read the TT? The PT, PowerPoint text. PowerPoint text, it gives you an introduction, okay? And do you all have the PowerPoint text? Hello? Hasanin, you pass it over to them? That is students. And everybody has it? Folks, are you listening to me? Everybody has it? Can we go through it? It's very interesting and very revealing by a student, okay? It's a work done by a student. And look what the student said at the beginning. Spark is thoroughly engaging, highly enjoyable. That's not the student. Student is giving us what said about Marx at the time published. You hear that? You hear that? This is at the beginning. This is at the along with the photo of my last Duchess, as you see it, and it says sparkling and thoroughly engaging. Do you see this woman? Engage, thoroughly engaging, highly enjoyable. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Look at the introduction. Ready? Folks, with me? You have your PowerPoint? You have your PowerPoint, right? All right. Last Duchess, written down by Browning, into the monologue for which the author is famously known for. See, for which the author is famously known. No need for at the end. Or the monologue which the author is famously known for. You cannot have them both, for. And that's another mistake in your PowerPoint. The reason why I'm going through it so that you can correct, the mistakes and simple mistakes. Now, a monologue takes, it will give information about the monologue. A monologue takes the form of a written piece in which the author or character speaks with themselves. He speaks with, the character speaks with himself, but again, that's another spoken, speaks with themselves, okay? Instead of with himself, herself, okay, we say with themselves. Okay, another dialectical error, but acceptable. All right, so why is it called monologue? The character speaks it with himself or herself. The monologue speaks concerns of these encounters. So the monologue tells us about the encounters that we are going throughout the poem. Okay? These encounters may have the love life that the narrator or the speaker had with his late wife. Okay? As well as concerning his late life, wife, okay, as it is attested from the fact that later on in life, this is ridiculous. Forget this, okay? All we know is that he is pursuing the love of another woman. And the introduction is confused or confusing, and I will just put it the same. But as we know, we have a monologue spoken by the Duke, okay? And we have a listener, and that listener is the emissary of the account, and in fact, the Duke is pursuing another love story or another marriage. I don't know if he knows what love is. Okay, those guys find it difficult to stoop. You see, love needs a stooping, my friend. Now, the second is a photo of Robert. No, yeah, it's page 3, a photo of Robert Browning, and page 4 or section 4 of this PowerPoint. It talks about the historical setup. The poem is set during the late Italian Renaissance. Listen, we are talking about the Victorian era. However, sometimes the works are set not during the Victorian era, but during some other era, but in fact done during the Victorian era. So the poem is set during the late Italian Renaissance or Renaissance, it's up to you, American or British. Speaker's character is seemingly Duke of Ferrara. That's another Italian. Duke of Ferrara. And the Duke of course, Ferrara is as you know, region in Italy. The Duke speaks to his audience. Audience. Who is the audience? Or who are the audience that we have here? You have any idea? The Duke speaks to his audience concerning the painting of his former wife, not her. Okay? Sorry about that. Another mistake. His former wife, now deceased. See how many information we get through this speech by the speaker or the narrator. Okay. Now this is. We continue with the context. This is the historical setup. Okay. So we know the historical setup, right? Historical setup. We are at the Renaissance or Renaissance, Italian Renaissance or Renaissance. Okay. And talking about the Duke and the Duchess, and we have a lot of other pieces of information given to us in the historical setup. Context of the poem. Context. You know what I mean by context. What does it consist of? Okay. The author reveals themes. Okay. Themes that are diverse or diverse in this monologue. We recall the themes. There are quite a number of themes that we will talk about later on when we finish the context. Context takes about a few pages, okay, or sections, subject, or section of pages. Okay. These are all. Okay, so here we go. We'll come back to the themes later on. So we have the context here, and it tells us about the themes, and from themes that speak on to love and moral compass with the society. That the major works of the author can be based on the belief that the parents had and the training that he has had in mostly the human nature as well as theological background. Students put it a little bit confusingly. Look, we can say the context here, okay? The context is logical, theological, theology, religious, in other words, psychological, finally, physical. See? These are the things that we need to really emphasize when we talk about the context of the poem. Okay? So the main pieces of poetry, mainly, as it says, should be are, okay, mainly based on the topics that speak containment of peace, happiness, liberty, and abhorrence of the materialism, okay, included in the majority of the scripture. So talking about who? About the guy whose photo we just showed, that is Robert Browning. So here, major people that he talks about, this guy, talks about peace. We look for peace. Everybody would like to have peace attained, and to have happiness, and to have liberty, and abhorrence of materialism. Most of this is very true. Then the poem exemplifies, okay, the author's beliefs in the simple and humble lives that a married couple should be living instead of engaging in the extravagance and leading lives that follow materialistic. So that is another contradictory or two elements contradicting each other. What the Duke then reveals and what the implied through Duchess and through the nature of the people around. This major theme on love between the bridegroom and the Duchess brings out the topic in much contextualized form that embodies the very tenets that the Duke of Ferrara devoted to. What does that mean? Does it mean something to you? Well, yes, why not? We've got a bridegroom right now, and she's the bride, and then she is the bride, but right now she was somehow trapped in a moment behind the curtain, and we're talking about another one who was going to be the bride. So the contextualization here is very interesting. Right? That is the topic of simplicity. The author of the poet would like to bring about. Similarities in his poetry all through, not only with the Duchess, but with many other poets. The character of the Duke is someone full of arrogance and supremacy. This is something hated, not liked by the vote and by the reader. Okay? So the monologue reveals the true character of the Duke, who is having a small talk with a visitor. A small talk with a visitor. And you recall who the visitor told you is, and also you know that he is an emissary sent by the count. Okay? And again, the Duke is talking about the painting also, the wall, while preparing to go down to meet the either Tyrol or Tyrol, okay, it's up to you, the father of the proposed girl, and other people who have come to finalize the new marriage proposal between the Duke and the Count's daughter. So the Duke reveals to us that he had killed his previous wife, that she spent it on the wall. This also reveals his true character. Okay? Now, what is the main character here, and what is the speaker talking? The main character and the speaker of the poem is Duke Alfonso II, Duke of Ferrara. So, in other words, this poem is somehow based on a true character, Duke Alfonso II, okay, Duke Alfonso II of Ferrara. The other person listening to him, what do you call the person listening? Addressee, the envoy, and we call it emissary, envoy, marriage sent by the Count of another place called Tyrol or Tyrol, it's up to you. Okay, and now this is what we have. The sources, I'll not go through the sources here. It's up to you. You will get them and try to see how much they will serve you. This is all. And we come to the theme, which is page 13. How many themes we get here? on page 13, okay, or portion 13 of the PowerPoint tells us about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? 9 themes discussed or passed over in this poem. Love. No, sure. Love is the most important part, and we see it is a crossover. Okay? Female sexuality. Again, we talked about that. And another theme here. And murder. Third one. Hatred. Fourth one. Oppression. Oppression. Boy. Jealousy. Pride. Corruption. Greed. For dowry. Imagine. The wife comes, and with her comes the new wife. With her comes a lot of money to support her from her power. So there's also the greed for dowry in this book. So we have 9 themes. If I ask you about any one of them, you will join in this book. Okay? Okay. Now, the real character of the Duke is gradually unmasked in the process. Now, listen, why we call it dramatic? Because it reveals to us a gradual unmasking in the process of this dramatic monologue, how it's taught. Okay, he is a murderer who had killed his innocent young wife out of jealousy. Imagine. He boasts, proud of about his great name and his status in a mean manner, really mean. Okay? A mean, dirty, okay? Low. Now, he pretends to be a lover of art. How could this happen, my folks? Tell me. An expert of art? For God's sake. Yes, in fact, 2 things. In sculpture as well as in painting. Okay? But it's a pretense. It is a pretense. All right? That is the character. And finally, the conclusion of this poem, friends. The conclusion of this poem in section 15, and it says, the last Duchess brings about, brings about, and it brings to the foreground the need for chastity in marriage. This is the lesson we get, chastity. But for God's sake, what is wrong, with the chastity of the Duchess? She's a chaste woman, for God's sake, nothing proves it contrary to that. Okay? So chastity in marriage and love between married couples for them to enjoy the fruits of their marriage. Right? So that is the conclusion. Again, Browning speaks of the men who aspire of love, aspire to love, okay? But in reality, they fail to maintain their love lives, fail to maintain it. They aspire towards a better love life, okay? A better kind of love. But in reality, they fail to maintain. Too bad. He likens them to a ship traveling in the course of a storm. blah, 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 blah. He likens them to a ship traveling in the course of a storm. Remember? You have seen that? Ulysses is an interesting one. A very interesting poem, but unfortunately, we're not going to get it. We're not going to study. But it's my boy, my advice to you to read Ulysses. It's a great book, great book. So Brown speaks of the men who aspire, okay, of love, okay, love to be higher, changed, but in reality, they fail to maintain. And they likens this relationship, okay, to a ship traveling in the course of a storm, where the sailors' only motivation are greed and ambition. Greed and ambition towards what they are looking for. Forgetting that real love only comes when they portray the same to the women that they love. Huh? How do you find this? Okay, you're in a ship, and the ship is traveling in the course of a storm. You are only motivated by greed and ambition towards gaining things. Too bad. The poem is unique, I repeat, for its technique of dramatic revelation. Unique for its dramatic technique of dramatic revelation of character, which is true, which is really true. Okay? This is unbelievable. Now, let's try to get this done thing one by one. Anybody has questions about the PPX or PPT, PowerPoint text, right? Zahra Karim Abid Ali has just left. 0. Okay. We have, let me see, how many? We've got only 14. What's happening to you folks? Where are you? Mr. 14. Where are you? Too bad. Huh? Where are you? Huh? No? Okay. Zainab Awad Kadam Abbas. Zainab, what is it? 0? No? Yes, Zainab. Yes, Zainab. Come on. What's happening? What's happening? Hasanin? I have only 12 people. They left. Why is that? Okay. Absentee is important. Okay? We are having our time. This is interesting. This is very interesting. And you are recording, right? Hasanin? Thank you very much. Okay. Have I read the poem? I did just right. Okay. So what do you want? Shall we take it one by one? No. What do you think? Huh? All right, wonderful. Wonderful. We'll take it one by one, right? One by one. So, Okay, let's start the poem. That's my last Duchess on the wall. What is he talking about? Huh? That's, of course, he's pointing. Yeah, because we have a speech act, folks. We have a speech act. You understand what I mean? This is a speech act. That's, of course, that he somehow pulled the curtain. He pulled the curtain, and there appears a painting of beautiful woman, a beautiful, lovely woman. Okay, painted on the wall. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonder. No. I call that piece a wonder now. Look. See how many facts given to us just in these few lines. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall. So we know for, we know that he's talking to someone. He revealed the painting of his Duchess, appeared on the wall, painted on the wall, and at the same time, okay, last Duchess talking about the past, talking about something that passed by, that she's no longer Duchess. Looking as if she were alive. Look at this if clause. Impossible. That's why we say she were. We didn't say she was. She were. As if, because this is the impossibility. Looking as if she were alive. I call that a piece. I call that piece a wonder. No. Wonder in what sense? Can you tell me? Why do you call it a wonder? If you are really an expert in art, for sure, you call it a wonder. You call it a wonder because it is a piece of art done by a very known artist. Fra Pandolf was at that time a real artist. Yes, true, my friend. Okay, so Fra, as you know, Fra, sent, just like saying Qudus, a saint. Okay, a friar. Pandolf, hands, okay, worked busily a day. For sure, he worked all day. We've got a painting, and you have to finish it before it dried up. This is something that is a wall painting, okay? There she stands. There, will it please you sit with her? That's another thing. Will it please? This is an interjection, okay? He is asking his address to sit down and enjoy looking at this painting. Enjoy looking at the painting. And of course, he would not allow anybody to do that, except or by his permission, he would let you see it. So, will it please you sit and look at, I said, Fra Pandolf. And by design, what is meant by design? Purposefully, on purpose, by design. He made it, worked for it, on design, okay, or by design, okay, on purpose, for never read like you that pictured countenance. See? You see the way he put that, the way he put that, oh my God. goodness. What happened? What happened to us? What happened to us? Oh boy. Okay? All right, we are here, and see, we are all right. So, strangers like you, that pictured countenance. You see, it says by design he made it to be very attractive to people who would look at her countenance, look at her face. It is pregnant with a lot of things to be seen here. All right? So, worked busily a day, and there she stands. Wilt please you sit and look at her? I said, Frapando, by design for never read strangers. In other words, strangers would never read. Okay, strangers like you would never have the opportunity to look at this countenance, pictured countenance. Okay, because the depth of passion and the earnest glance, all right, is in hands of the Duke to show it whenever he desires, or to stop showing it and keep her behind the curtain. So here it is, the depth and passion of its earnest glance. But to myself they turned, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you, but I. See? In other words, no one can see, no one can turn that curtain away. No one can draw or draw out that curtain but the Duke himself. So in other words, see, in other words, she is somehow present behind this curtain. Even as a picture, even as a painting. And seeing that painting will be only to those who would, either dare, none of them dared to ask the Count, to ask the Duke to reveal the painting, except if he felt that he needs to show them that painting. And okay, the curtain I have drawn for you, but and seemed as though what? Would ask me, but you did not ask. See, this is the problem. You did not ask, you see? As if you asked, but you did not ask. See? How much? Okay. How such a glance came there? What's meant by how such a glance came there? That countenance. How was it revealed to the painter? How was it revealed? How was it depicted by the painter? How such a glance came there? So, not the first are you. You are not. No, you are not the first to turn and ask thus, as if, sir, it was not her husband's presence. You see, that glance, that sexual glance upon her countenance, upon her face, is not to her husband. No. Okay, when I say sexual, I say, in other words, a courteous, mujamala. But people, pretend, maybe it is the artist who deepened that sexual appearance on her face. But in reality, the Duchess, in all what is given to us, is a very courteous, honest woman. So that's what he tells us. Sir, it was not her hands only. That's what appears on her face. It's not drawn and given to her husband only. No. Okay? Called that spot of joy into the Duchess's cheek. So it's not only the husband. Perhaps Trapandov chanced to say, her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much, or paint much, or penned must never hope to reproduce the faint. Half a flush that dies along her throat. What the heck is going on here? Anybody can tell me? Anybody can tell me. All right? So, okay. Line 3 to 4, we talked about. Line 3 to 4 accomplishes two things. Emphasis on the mastery of the artist. Look at that. Emphasis on the work done by the artist. And at the same time, of course, it makes a dead woman seem animated, live. Okay? That's one thing. The introduction, the Duke's subtle, mocking tone with the phrases piece of wonder, busy or busily a day. You saw that? Busily a day, piece of wonder. What is that? It shows us the certain face of the Duke himself, the speaker. An introduction to the Duke's subtle, mocking tone with the phrases piece of wonder and busily a day. Okay? These words seem to be heavy with ridicule and scorn for both the woman and the artist. You hear that? You hear that? At this point, the reader might begin to think the Duke was jealous of the man who painted, who fussed over his wives, but who ultimately created what? Not a masterpiece, but just a portion of one. It should be noted that unlike some other figures in Browning's work, Fra Pandolf, and later, of course, we have Klaus of Innsbruck, and of course, Klaus of Innsbruck, forget it, if we talk about the one who sculpted the Neptune taming the seahorse. Okay, that is a creation of Robert Browning himself. But Randolph, no, the painter, the painter is very well known. The painter is a very well known Italian painter, okay, during the Renaissance era. Okay, then we come to line 5. The use of the word you informs the reader that there is an immediate addressee. I'm getting to line 5. You heard it? Will it please you sit? Will it please you sit? You read it? You read it? Will it please you sit? This is line 5. This is line 5 that begins will it. Okay? Will it, line 5. Yeah? This line 5 informs the reader that there is an immediate addressee within the fiction of the poem. The speaker is not addressing the reader directly. No. But there is another character involved here. More specifically, it indicates that the speaker, the Duke, is now addressing the emissary directly. Addressing the emissary. You recall? The convoy. You recall? The agent. Okay? Sent by the Count. This is a complete direct address in line 5, asking him to sit and gaze upon picture of the dead woman. The reader may imagine the emissary sitting in a chair while the Duke stands and delivers his speech in effect? No, no. The emissary is now in a subordinate position. Everything is given to the Duke. All right? So if we move to line 6 of the poem, frappant by design. Imagine, the word by design implies that the artist is a well-known artist and has some prestige attached to his name. So the Duke may want to advertise that it was his own talent for hiring the right artist, okay, to do such a great work of art. Sorry for that, right? So that's also an implication, and always trying to bring things towards his side. That's the Duke. The Duke may want to advertise that it was his own talent, of course. Huh? That is, he was responsible for the lifelike quality of the picture. Also stresses that all of the painting's viewers, strangers like you, imagine, strangers like you see? We're talking not only about the emissary, but other viewers, strangers like you. What about them? This is line 6 up to line 9. Strangers like you. Remark upon the painting's lifelike look. See, everyone says that this is a life look appears upon the face of the late Duchess. Not only you, the image of emotion, the passion in the glance seems more valuable to him than genuine. You see, that's another part that you need to look into, that you need to really enhance. All right? To him, the use of the word "it's" instead of "her" suggests that the Duke has more of a relationship with the painting than he did with his dead wife. What a ridiculous thing here. You see, those are the high-class people. Suggests that the Duke has more of a relationship with the painting than with his wife when she was alive. With these details, Browning begins to inject the notion of the Duke's jealousy. Here appears the Duke's jealousy. Okay, folks? All right? The passionate glance. The passionate glance may do what? Might have been placed there by the painter. You see? By the painter. As I said, it could be that the painter emphasized certain aspects in the piece of the Duchess, who the Duke probably sees as a rival for his dead wife's affection. Imagine. Then we move to lines 10 to 13. 10 to 13. These lines suggest just how striking the depth of and passion of the image are. Since apparently all the previous viewers have wanted to know what excited the Duchess enough to inspire that look in her eyes. Mona Lisa, the eyes of the Mona Lisa, and the smile on the face of Mona Lisa. Exactly that is the one. Okay? And we go on and on. So it is apparently viewers wanted to know. Viewers wanted to know. Strangers like the emissary wanted to know that. Okay? The Duke also betrays his and desire for control. Huh? Possessiveness and desire. He could not possess her alive. He possessed her painting now. Okay? Then he controls who sees that painting and who cannot see that painting. He commands that none puts by the curtain but I. You see? You see? This is very interesting. You see? Very interesting. But I. Then line 14 to 15. At this point, Browning suggests more of the Duke's possessiveness, as he tells the emissary that it was or it wasn't his presence alone that made his wife happy or caused that spot of joy. Spot of joy. In French, it has a very beautiful word. Okay? Joie de vivre. Joie de vivre. Joyous, the joyous living. The joy of living. The joy of living. Joie de vivre. Okay? So this is, it wasn't his presence alone that made his wife happy or caused that spot of joy, which may literally have been a blush on her cheek. The Duke insinuates, insinuates, implies, but badly, insinuates that this blush must have come to her face from either being in the company of a lover or from her far too impressionable and discriminating. Too bad. Too bad, my friend. Too bad. What is this guy doing? It's unfortunate. The Duke begins to offer his guesses at what, aside from some illicit pleasure, illicit, illicit, pleasure might have caused that Duchess. Two readings are possible, turning on the reader's sense of how seriously the Duke believes in the monk's vows of celibacy. That is something that you need to know, because the Penta is a monk, and he vowed to be celibate. Okay? And celibacy means, we are Catholics. It says, Catholics do not, monks do not have wives, do not marry. So the Penta was not the Duchess's lover, then her nature was simply too susceptible to flattery for the Duke's liking. Too bad. She's flattered. She enjoys being flattered. She enjoys being flattered. People tell her, you are beautiful. People present her with flowers, many things, servicing her with all gifts. He cannot stand that. She accepts it as part of her being a Duchess. 22, 34. Line 22 to 34. We were before line 16 to 21. Now 22 to 34. This section of the poem begins the Duke's long complaints against the Duchess. Complaints, you know? You know what I mean by complaints? You're complaining of your dead wife. Complaining, she's not following your orders. 22 to 34, this section of the poem begins the Duke's long list of complaining against the Duchess. First and foremost, she was innocent, too easily pleased and impressed. She was innocent. Innocent, you hear that? But too easily pleased and impressed. He blames her for not seeing any difference between being the wife of a great man and being able to see the sunset, receiving a bouquet from someone of status below the Duke. Imagine, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Or riding a white mule. So this is, if she's enjoying sunset, if she's enjoying the flowers, if she's enjoying riding a white mule, he thinks she should not do that. He thinks that she should be for him and only that. Okay? It is fine to be courteous. She thanked men. Good. She gave all men the kind of respect that only a man with his family's rank and distinction deserves. She accepts it. But what did she do? What did she do? Other than that. Okay? Look at line 43. Having recanted the Duchess' imperfections, the Duke announces that even though her faults were many, he would not lower himself. Stoop. To say stoop means lower yourself, bend down, by telling her what bothered him. He didn't want to do that. That was stooping, and he never stooped. Okay? Telling her that bothered him. She should know that by herself. How the Duke tried to paint himself as a plain spoken man, one who has no skill in speech. At this point in the poem, the reader may realize that the Duke is well skilled in the uses of language. See? You see how amusing the character of the Duke is. The Duke explains that even if he had the skill to tell what? Even if he had the skill to tell, okay? The Duchess, just how much she disgusted him. He would not have explained to her how and why her actions bothered him. You see? On one hand, he betrays a fear that she would have argued with him, plainly said, it's to yours. See, that means you're stupid. If she argues with the Duke, she's the Duchess. Of course she has the right to argue. But to him, no, that's stooping. Okay? Stooping. Not stubborn. Stooping. Bending down. Going down. Okay? On one hand, he betrays a fear that she would have argued with him. To yours. On the other hand, he explains that the very process of having to explain his feelings, imagine, to her would have constituted compromise, stooping again to his authority. Let's come to 44. Let's come to 44. 48. 44, 48. With me, folks? Are you with me? Are you with me, folks? Okay. Are you with me, folks? Hello? Are you with me? We are at 44. And time is running. Time is running fast, okay? This is a very important point, folks. A very, very important point. All right? 44, 48, these lines contain the speaker's final judgment of the Duchess. That's it. 44, 48, okay? Judgment of the Duke recalls his dead wife's smile and how she never reserved her smile for him. Imagine, she should reserve that smile and for him only, not to the others. Okay, the lines gave commands. Here we go. Gave commands. Okay, this is the end. Then all the smiles stopped together. All the smiles stopped together. What tells you? Does it tell you something? Of course. Then all the smiles stopped together. Tells us that the Duke used his power. Used his power to curb his wife's friendliness. How is that? The words also leave the details ambiguous. Kicked her out, imprisoned her for life, killed her. But it was, okay, my last Duchess, no longer. Okay, as if she were alive. We recall that, as if she were alive. In other words, the wife is no more. He gave his commands. He used his power, okay, to keep his wife's friendliness. But the words also leave it ambiguous to us. Okay? At best, he may have restricted her behavior in a way that dampened her ardor for life. At worst, he may have ordered